What's going on, guys? Solomonster here with you on a Sunday night for a rare breaking news update here on YouTube. Of course, it's breaking news on a Sunday because I recorded the sound of earlier this afternoon, and as soon as I uploaded the show, I start getting messages from people. Have you seen the Sheamus news? Is the Sheamus news part of the show? No, it was not, because it broke late this afternoon. I was as surprised as any of you were. This was something I was not expecting, in particular because I recall him talking about that 5-year deal that he had signed, and this was only a couple of years ago. So I'm reading this going, what are you talking about? Sheamus is leaving WWE, but that is the news. Sheamus is all but gone from WWE, and I'm going to read to you here from Fightful Select, who are the ones who broke the news earlier this afternoon. Fightful Select reported on Sunday that Sheamus recently turned down a contract extension to remain with WWE and will be leaving when his current deal expires. It is not clear exactly when his deal is up, but Fightful writes that they have been told his contract expires soon. The report also indicates that WWE had previously approached him about taking a restructured deal, which he is said to have swiftly rejected. Good for him. If you'll notice on his social media, Sheamus is now going by his real name. S. Farrelly. His real name is Stephen Farrelly. We have not seen Sheamus on WWE television since December, or actually it would have been November, right? November 17th, I believe, is when they were at Madison Square Garden. And he was part of a 6-man tag team match. It was him, it was John Cena, and it was Rey Mysterio beating the Judgment Day. So what turned out to be John Cena's final ever match on Raw looks to be Sheamus's final ever match, or at least for the foreseeable future, also on Monday Night Raw. So there's a trivia note for you. I guess that night turned out to be pretty historic. This is surprising. I wouldn't say shocking. It is surprising, though, to see his name attached to something like this, because he's one of those guys. And Kofi Kingston was too, which is why when I heard about the New Day, I was very surprised. One of these guys who you would look at and go, that's a lifer. Like, I can't imagine him going and working for any other wrestling organization. He'll just retire in WWE, and then they'll put him in the Hall of Fame. He had been there for 20 years. I think with Kofi, it was the same thing. Sheamus started there in developmental in 2006. That's how long he had been with this company for. But we heard these reports about TKO management or WWE management via TKO approaching various talents who were making a lot of money, probably well into the 6 and 7 figures, and approaching them for not only a pay cut, but as much as 50% of a pay cut in some cases. And some of them, I'm sure, have said yes, because they're still making really good money, even if it's half of what they used to make. And then there were others like the New Day who said, fuck no, we're going to leave. We're going to take our ball and go home. Thank you very much. And it sounds like, based on this, that's what Sheamus did. You know, I don't know what he was making. With him, I'm sure it was into the 7 figures. But he underwent shoulder surgery in December. That's why we have not seen him on television since. But at the end of the day, you know, when he signed that last contract, whatever the amount of money was, that is the amount of money that they felt like he was worth. And that's what he agreed to. And if he's not happy with the deal that was presented to him, he is well within his rights to say, no, I'm walking away. You know, because you're undervaluing me. You're undervaluing what I bring to the table. In a case like this, I can understand it from both perspectives. I can actually understand it from the other side too, where you're looking at this veteran guy who's 48 years old with a history of injury issues, including spinal stenosis, which is something that doesn't just go away. I mean, that's something that's going to get progressively worse over time. But even now, right, he's been sidelined for literally the entire year with an injury, although we don't know when he may or may not have been medically cleared. He may already be cleared. And he's been sitting on the sidelines. So we don't know exactly what the timeline is on that. But they may be looking at him like, okay, he's an older guy. He's not really contributing as much. His body is breaking down on him. And when he signed this deal, you know, a couple of years ago, whatever it was, let's just say, it was for $1.2 million. Are we getting $1.2 million worth out of Sheamus? And they may say no. And so they're well within their rights to go to him and ask him to take a pay cut. And he's well within his rights to tell him to go, you know, fuck off. I'm not agreeing to that. It's unfortunate for a lot of reasons. One of those reasons, and it doesn't really affect you and me, but I would imagine the people that work with him, people backstage in WWE, they're losing another veteran presence in that locker room. And it feels like this is something that is slowly being stripped away, bit by bit. With the New Day, Sheamus is one. There have been other veterans also that, have since departed the company. And there will be others. I'm sure Sheamus will not be the last person that we hear about. Maybe he'll be the one with the longevity. Outside of Randy Orton, it's hard for me to really think of anybody who's on the active roster right now. Cena retired. I guess Rey Mysterio. You got Mysterio, you got Orton, but it's few and far between as far as like the resume that someone like Sheamus has. I mean, again, you look at what he's done. 2006, he debuted in this company. During his time in WWE, a 3-time WWE champion. And think about this, the very first title he ever won on pay-per-view was the WWE title, and he beat John Cena to do it. Almost from day one on the main roster, he was thrust into the main event scene. He was a player on that roster. His first WrestleMania, which was only a few months later, he was wrestling Triple H. So beyond that, former world heavyweight champion, 3-time United States champion, 5-time tag team champion, King of the Ring 2010, Royal Rumble 2012, Money in the Bank 2015. You name it, he won it, except for one. And that is the Intercontinental Championship. And this has been a long-running sort of storyline in and of itself when it comes to Sheamus, which is that it's the one title that really mattered to him that eluded him. Because as he grew up as a kid as a wrestling fan, he was a fan of the Intercontinental Championship, right? That was the workhorse title. And you had guys like Bret Hart and Mr. Perfect and Razor Ramon who held that title. And so it had sentimental value to him. Yes, he's been a world champion. Who cares about the IC title? He does, because he would always talk about it. So clearly it meant something to him. And it's a shame now that it's never going to happen. The closest that he came to making it happen, and honestly, the time that it should have happened, 2022, Clash at the Castle against Gunther. A 5-star match all the way, a 5-star atmosphere. If it was going to happen, that was the night for it to happen. And that place would have gone nuts. And it didn't take away from how great the match was, but it just felt like a real missed opportunity. And then you could also fast forward to WrestleMania 39, and that was another opportunity in the triple threat with him and Drew McIntyre and Gunther, and what a fucking match that was. But it just never happened. They waited too long, and then injuries and other circumstances came about, and now he's gone. And so it doesn't look like the Intercontinental Championship is going to be in his future at all. I think of other memorable matches of his. I mean, I can't say that this is a match that I remembered fondly at the time that it happened, but it's certainly memorable. The 18-second win of the World Heavyweight title over Daniel Bryan at WrestleMania. They had a much better match the following month at Extreme Rules. You want to see a great match between those two, go check that one out. But I mentioned Gunther at Clash at the Castle, WrestleMania 39, the triple threat. He had Edge's last match on SmackDown a few years ago. And that was a very good match too. But again, there's a history of injuries here that can't be ignored. He's been doing this for a very long time. He's been in some battles. He's got the spinal stenosis. He had a very serious neck injury a few years ago, a very serious shoulder injury, and then more recently, a shoulder injury, which is what's kept him out since the end of last year. But I think back to that interview he did with Chris Van Vliet, the one I kind of referenced earlier. And this would have been, God, when was the interview? End of 2024, maybe very beginning of 2025, which is where he confirmed that he had just recently signed a 5-year deal, which again is very strange why he's about to potentially become a free agent on a 5-year deal. But in that interview, Chris asked him point blank, like, do you have an end date in mind as far as when you want to be done with this? And I'll read you from the quote. Sheamus answered very straightforward. He said, not really. He said, I'll go until the wheels fall off. I'll do it until I can't physically do it anymore. I love what I do. There's plenty of time to sit back and read a book and watch TV. And so, that being said, he's going to continue to wrestle. If that quote is anything to go on, he's not just going to retire. He's going to want to continue to wrestle. And so what's next for him? The guy would clean up on the indies. If he wants to pick his own shots and go work indie dates for a few months until he figures out what his next move is going to be, trust me, there's plenty of indies that would love to get Sheamus on their shows. So that will always be an option for him. I don't know. Does he want to work Japan? Not necessarily full-time. I mean, is that going to be something that he would be interested in? Could they even afford to pay him? There's a reason why so many major names from New Japan left New Japan to go to WWE or AEW, because they can't pay what these companies are paying. I don't know if that would be of interest to him. Frankly, you could say the same thing about TNA. And then everybody is going to be talking about the obvious, which is Tony Khan and AEW, and they're going to bring him in, right? Bring in another ex-WWE guy. And I get it, but of course, if Sheamus wants to continue working and he wants to make really good money and he wants to be on TV and you know he's got a lot of friends who work there, AEW would make sense. It's not like he can't go in there and have bangers with the people on that roster, right? Cesaro is there. They made a great team once. They've made great opponents too, not just a great team. It would be kind of cool to see the two of them working together again. But I said this again years ago. I think when he came back from that previous shoulder injury, and he never really had anything of any great note in the last couple of years to really sink his teeth into. But when he would go out there on Raw, and it didn't matter who he was out there with, it could be Rusev, it could be JD McDonough, it could be Ludwig Kaiser, whoever it was. He would go out there and he would deliver every single time. He was the most consistently reliable in-ring performer. You knew what you were going to get when Sheamus was on TV. The whole banger after banger after banger, it wasn't just a catchphrase. It was born out of something real. That was real. So, yeah, 48 years old, all banged up, all these injuries that he's accumulated over the years. Can he stay healthy? That's always going to be a question. If you send him out there to work with any of the people on that roster, he doesn't have to be in the main event scene, but you can plug him in there anywhere, and that guy is going to excel. And he's going to be a great person for someone else, even a younger talent, to work with. So, of course, AEW would be a great landing spot for him as well. I can't get in his head. I don't even know if he has had the chance to think that far ahead. We don't even know the timeline on all of this. Did this all come about in the last few weeks? Is this something that's been in the works for a couple of months? We don't know. I'm sure more news will come out in the days ahead. I am sure I will have more on this on the Uncrowned Wrestling Show on Tuesday, in the next episode of the Sound Off next weekend. There was a brand new episode, 970, that dropped earlier today of the Solomonster Sounds Off. So if you missed that, go back and check that out. And that's all I got for you right now. I will see you guys for all of the post-show streams after Raw, Dynamite, SmackDown, maybe more breaking news. Who the hell knows? But that'll be on YouTube right here throughout the week. So I will see you guys there. Until then, take care.